Before I dive into showing you all the different things you can do with the boxes, I want to take a moment and remind everyone that Sudowrite offers classes. The classes are free. You can take them as many times as you want, repeat classes if you want to. You never get charged in any way. And it's not just our core curriculum like the 101s, 201s, and 301s, but we do offer special topic classes. I see so many newcomers joining the Discord, and bless their heart, they had just like I did when I joined Sudowrite and just dive into trying to learn the program on their own. Now, Sudowrite has a big learning curve. And to fully master it, in my opinion, you really need to attend the classes and see how the different instructors use Sudowrite, because we don't all use Sudowrite the same. So one of our methods may click better for you and your workflow than somebody else's. Right now, people are coming in, jumping right into Sudowrite, trying to learn it, asking questions as they go. But like the saying, you don't know what you don't know. So save yourself some frustration. Instead of trying to figure it out on your own, attend our classes. You can see here we have some of the special topics. We have working with Canva, with Mana and Gianna. Sudowrite After Dark. This is a new class. This is only our second session. This is a temporary one to see how the registration was. And last session was great. So if this one's good as well, it'll continue on. And Sudowrite After Dark focuses on violent or sexual content. Dark and Taboo, also violent and sexual content, but tend to be merged together. And they're on Sunday mornings. That way you can attend and then turn around, go to church, and cleanse your soul. Plugin School, for those who want to learn plugins. The new series that Tabby and I will be doing, AI and the Author. A less taboo, spicy class. So there's lots of classes in addition to our core curriculum classes that you see here, the 101s, 201s, and 301s. Just to briefly explain this before we dive into the video. 101, just like it says, it's for beginners. If you're brand new to Sudowrite, this is where you need to be. Please attend more than one of these. And that's again, especially with different teachers, because we tend to do things different ways. 201s are also good for beginners. Once you understand what each box does, how to manipulate each box, dive into some 301s and get some advanced tips. This is our Luma page for Sudowrite where you can register for the classes. If you don't know the link for that, go onto your homepage of Sudowrite and this first box right here, Live Help Classes and Author Hours. Click register. It'll take you to that page that we were just looking at. If you can't attend live classes, our course videos channel right over here on the left, course videos channel has all of these class recordings and special topics. Our Dark and Taboo, Hot and Spicy are never recorded. Do not go look for them here. If that's what you're interested in, sorry, you're going to have to show up to the Sudowrite After Dark or one of the live Sunday sessions. But as you can see, the list is extensive. So you can dive right into here. You don't have to wait to register for classes. Go pick and choose and learn at your own pace. Let's look at what you can do with the different boxes. Now, Brain Up, this is where a lot of people just put their story. As you can see, I've done it here. That's it. Just my story laid out. But you don't have to leave it this way. Once you're done with the Brain Up, once you've generated the synopsis, you can change this up. People put in characters that aren't in the character box. They put in magical items, any type of lore, things like that. This is another way I've done where I have my character stuff here, all my character descriptions laid out, a scene by scene outline, generate my synopsis from this because I tend to like it, the way it generates. So you can do that. And yet one more example. This is how my brain dump typically looks. You can see it's almost maxed out. That's what I like to do to add in my details. But I don't go small with my details. For instance, if I scroll down, you just see this is all in a narrative kind of format. All I'm doing is covering the major plot points. These are the characters. This is who they are. Things like that. And then if I scroll to the bottom, you'll see I've added in some wording. So I want the AI to know what I mean whenever I say this. I'm giving some background information. Again, wording, lore, and then the prophecies. So those are different things. And once I've generated synopsis, I could come back and just have whatever I want here. If I only want the prophecies or some more definitions of wording, whatever I want. Those are different ways you can do brain dump. Again, you can have your story information, you can have your character stuff before you generate synopsis, and then after you generate that synopsis, it has all the information it needs for the story. You can use brain dump sort of as your lore book. Genre and style, they aren't really versatile, but people often overlook the importance of changing things up per chapter as needed. For instance, I always use the horror and romance examples. In your opening chapter of a horror story, you might not have your characters being killed right away. It's the friends out in the forest, the woods, having fun, having a party, good old Friday the 13th style. But if I have horror here and I'm telling you I want these bloody depictions of gore, well, guess what? Again, even though my beats might not say so and so gets killed, I told Sudowrite that I wanted that in my style box. I want those bloody depictions of gore. It's going to give me that some kind of way. A lot of times when people say, hey, the beats looked right and the story just went haywire or it didn't listen, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at somebody's genre or style box and I said, well, you have this wording right here that could be the cause. They go and fix that and it helps. So keep that in mind. What I like to do with these boxes is load them up with all of the things that I want in the beginning. For instance, this is going to affect my outline. And I know I want all of this information in my outline. I want all of these elements in there. But yet, when it comes time to actually doing the story, I'm going to trim it down. After my outline gets generated, I know all of those elements are kind of baked into my outline. I then change it so my genre and style box are only reflecting what I need to happen in that chapter. And I know some people even change it up almost per beat or halfway through the chapter. So keep in mind, genre and style can and should be changed up per chapter as needed. And to reiterate this, because I cannot stress this enough, just because your beats don't say something happens, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Again, just because it's an extreme example, think of that horror. If I'm telling it in my style, I want decapitation, I want macabre wording, and I want graphic descriptions, bloody depictions of gore, all of these things. But yet I forgot to change this up. I wasn't thinking. I just know I want this for the majority of my story. So I didn't think to change it up for that chapter. Even though those beats aren't telling the AI that, hey, these things happen, you're telling it here in this style box. That's why it is so important to make sure all of your boxes are in sync. Don't have conflicting information in your boxes. Don't have that you want a sweet romance up here in your genre box, and yet in your style box, you're asking for graphic depictions of sexual encounters and stuff like that. So keep your genre and style in mind whenever you're changing things up. And just to give you another example of how things can look right here. Synopsis is where you can actually instruct other boxes. Yes, this is meant to be your story summary essentially, and this is where outline pulls from. But you can also put in instructions as you see I've done here. Starting here is my actual story, but up here, I'm telling it right here in this section how I want my outline to be formatted because I know I like it formatted a certain way. I don't want to waste my credits on a rewrite when I know right away that I want this. Here, I'm telling it how I want it to look when it generates my outline, and it does listen. Here, I'm telling it how I want my character list to look. This used to work up until not quite a month ago. They fixed an issue where the character box stopped generating mid-sentence, before it finished and it still had room in the box. They fixed that issue, and for whatever reason, that ended up causing it not to listen to my instructions anymore. I'm actually having trouble making it listen when I put it in the rewrite character box as well. So, as much as I love this right now, it's something I'm having to do outside of Sudowrite and then just bring that details in. Now, once they get the character box fixed, I won't have to worry about that because I will be able to ask for this all the time, and I won't even need to use my synopsis words to do that. But again, synopsis can have your summary, but it can also instruct other boxes, so don't underestimate that. Instead of constantly using the rewrite button, whether it's rewrite outline, rewrite characters, whatever, if you know you want something in particular, tell it here in Synopsis. It does listen. Characters you can see here. This is the way I normally like my characters. Just like I was showing y'all. I have discovered having this line of dialogue seems to work better for the pros to generate unique dialogue for each character. Whereas before I only had the words similar to this, the describing words. Once I put in a line of dialogue, that really helps. And it actually works better to have it on a different line. And I'm sorry, I just pulled this in from somewhere else. So you do need name and colon. You'll see I have a lot of words in colons. I did ask for verification on this because I wasn't having issues, but other people were curious. Just because I have all of these other wording in colons, the AI doesn't think each one of these is a character. It looks for a name, a new name, and colon. So it's smart enough to look for those things. I can't even think what to call these right here, quotation marks. My quotation marks might be messing this up. I actually want to play around with it to see if it does or not, just so y'all will know in the future. This is one way to lay out the character box. Just scroll down so you can see everything here. And then my minor characters. Let's go to this one and look. Again, same thing. And you see my old wording without the line of dialogue right here. Again, asking for that line of dialogue to be in or putting it in the description really helps the pros to bring it out. And then minor characters. And then you see I have my location list. This is why I'm excited for the character box change that's coming soon. I saw the mock-ups and I love the way it looks so far. I think it's going to be really awesome. Now we're limited to 700 words. We have to kind of play around with what we're putting in there. Leaving out a lot of things. I would rather all of my characters have things like this, but instead I just have to keep it to my main characters. That will change soon. And like I said, the little mock-up looked really nice. Another thing you can do with your character box. You saw my list of settings, but I can do it like this too. So these three are my main setting locations right here for this story. You could put settings in your character box. And after the character box, they have said they will work later on a setting box as well. They're taking care of the character box. For right now, we can still put in settings, but they will have a box later on to where we can put things like this. In addition to putting settings in your character box, you can also put like magical items. If you have a magical sword or some sort of goblet or something that is really important to your story, you want the description in there, so the AI always references that. You want its magical abilities or the role it plays in the story. You can put those things inside your character box. That would mean you could actually have maybe your minor settings, minor characters in your brain dump, and then your major stuff in your character box. But again, as soon as they make the character box change, we'll be able to put all the stuff that we want and jam that into the character box. It's going to be awesome. Outline is one of those that is really customizable, y'all. People don't understand how much you can do with this one. The only thing that you have to absolutely, no ifs, ands, buts, no way around it. You have to have Act 1 tells the AI, hey, here's the start of the outline. Do not have a Roman numeral, have the number 1. And then each chapter needs to be chapter number colon. This is the only requirement. How you format each chapter is completely up to you. You can see here is just one little brief version. Of course, if you generate outline naturally, let it do its own thing, it's going to give you this little short paragraph format. So that's another way. Let me see if this is the one. I had some ideas up for y'all. This is my preference for how my outline gets generated. And you'll see I have the Act 1, chapter number colon. Then I have instructions right here. We're going to go over that in a minute. But then I'm asking for day and time, setting and location. This is something I learned from Marigold to do that. But I don't like to load up my chapter box anymore. Whereas before, I actually did have some thick ones. Let me see where they are. So you'll see here, this is kind of the old way I used to do it. And I used to actually try to put more than this in the chapter summary. but when it was Story Engine, there was a threshold that it would hit. I don't know what exactly it was, but if I put so many words here in the chapter summary, it actually refused to generate beats. There was always an error message. But this is the way that I use to do my chapter summaries. Just it's big paragraphs, writing in everything that I wanted to write. And I know some people like to load that up. Some other options. You can ask for beats. Or you could tell it a specific number of beats. Hey, generate 10 beats per chapter or generate 20 beats per chapter, whatever. And it will do that. Or you can just tell it, generate beats for each chapter. And it'll generate however many beats it thinks it needs for that chapter. Good thing about this method is you could actually edit these to your liking and just copy those into the beat box if you want, or let beats generate from these. So that is another method that you can do. Let me go back to this. So again, I like to keep mine small now. I was noticing beats were just overlooking. I was putting in all of these details in my chapter summary, yet when beats got generated, they overlooked it. I had to turn around and do it again. So this is my preference now, is to just have a couple of plot points for it to focus on when it generates the beats. And of course, if I put some instructions right here, when it generates those beats, it's going to look at these and do whatever I tell it. If I'm telling it to focus on the battle and all the loss of life and everything, it's going to do that when it generates the beats. So you can instruct beats from your outline box too, or at least instruct the creation of the beats a little bit. Now, whereas I said loading the chapter up, the beats kind of overlook things, that's the downside to that. The good side is when you load up a chapter with the big old paragraphs and everything, is your beats tend to come out very meaty. So you don't have as much looping or anything. And that is the downside to these thin beats, which I don't mind because I tend to do my beats a certain way. Yes, beats are only focusing on this little bit, but again, that's less that they have to pull from. So the beats are going to come out very thin. Now, since I like to write my own beats for my stories that are getting published and everything, that's not an issue for me, but do be aware of that. So again, lots of wording in your chapter. Beats might overlook things, but they generate very meaty beats right away. You don't have to worry about looping as much. Doing it this way, they're able to focus on these, really start bringing out some details, but the beats are often thin. So keep that in mind. That's why we always say, attend different classes with the different teachers, experiment with it, and see what works for you. Those are some things you can do with outline, and there's more. You can have it alternate POVs. I like to do the scene and sequel method too. That's another one of my favorites. I'll put in my instructions in the synopsis box, generate scene and sequel method. Let's say you generate the chapter and you didn't think about it till later. You're like, you know what? I wish this was alternating POV. We'll just come down to the rewrite outline box. Alternate POV between Logan, Jackson, and Alicia, and it'll do that. Right, so that is the outline. Now, the last box, and in my opinion, is the most important. I'm not going to show you on this one because this is a dirty story. Let's go to a clean story. You can see I have some instructions here, just some guidance that you can have. And then let's look at the beats. These are the typical Sudowrite generated beats right here. You can just mess with these, edit them. You can use them if you like them. There are plenty of plugins as well. So if I copy these, I'm just going to highlight those beats, use the Just Beat It plugin. I like to use this when I don't have any idea of how the story's going to play out or that scene's going to play out, but I know I need something more inside my beats. So this is just one way. I know I have a couple versions of this one using different models. John Creasaw has several Beats plugins. I think Miss Lynn has at least one. So play around with those, find one that you really like. Another method that I have shown before is using the laser tools. So this one says, begin by describing the quaint and rustic setting of Thistlewood. So I can highlight this and click the describe button. And then after it describes things, I can pull in everything that I like and add it to this beat. And I can keep going through. My favorite things to do in the beats are the describe and rewrite. And for rewrite, I always use between more descriptive and show not tell. Now, these other ones can come in handy too, like the inner conflict or more intense. And of course, you can use a customizable one. But these are my go to, the more descriptive and show not tell to increase the beats. So, those are two methods, beats plugins and using the laser tools to help with your beats. See what Describe did. So, yeah, Describe gave us all of this. I would just go through, take what I like, add it to that beat. What I really like to do with my beats is this is just two beats, as you can see here, a little under 200 words. And I will fill up the box with each one. But this was just a sample I took from another chapter. I like to actually have Sudowrite generate my beats for me, and I'll have that as a guide. Let me see. Oh, this is another example. This is actually not generated beats, but prose. This was done in our model exploration class, so you could watch that and see it. But this was prose that fastest generated from the first stride that I ran. And I just turned around and put that prose here in the beats box to run it again. And it did pretty well. It gave us 3,000 words, 491 words in the beats box. So that's one way you could do it. These are typical Sudowrite generated beats, minus, ignore all my instructions and things like that. Those were for examples. But I do like to have it generate the beats, and I use that as my guidance. I'm just going to copy this real quick to show. I would have the beats generated. This would actually be reversed. I'm just going to do that. Keep things as accurate as possible for y'all. I would have these generated beats. I would kind of read through one at a time and then decide myself, how do I want that scene played out? So you can see I started it right here. These are in my voice is the best way I could think to say it. I know when I'm thinking about how this scene is playing out, I'm watching it in my head. This is exactly what I see. Same thing right here. So these are how I like to write my beats. Again, if I don't have that idea of how the scene's going to play out, I use the plugin and do the best I can there. But this is my preference. And if you can master this, get comfortable with creating your own beats similar to this way, you will not have a problem at all ever with looping. You will also not have the frustration of the AI doing things you don't want it to do. For instance, right here, I've described the altar and how I want it to look. It's not an important detail, but I don't want the AI to make something up. So I told it she was standing in front of an altar. And I know the AI, if I don't describe that altar, it's going to describe the altar and possibly make up something that's going to throw the scene off a little bit. I'm just going to tell it how I want the altar to look. In my editing, I might delete it, rewrite it, whatever, because it does kind of come into play, but it's not this huge important plot point. But still, like I always say, don't give the AI the chance to get confused. Don't give it the chance to make stuff up. If you know what you want, put it in here. That is how you keep it on track. That, in combination with making sure your genre and style box, because again, there's no killing in here. But if my genre was horror, I had that I want the macabre details in my style box. It's going to do that. So keep that in mind. I think that is everything. Again, attend the classes, see how the various teachers do everything. If you decide you have credits or figure out you have credits at the end of the month to burn through, experiment. And I highly, highly recommend experimenting with the Beats box. Play around with all the different things you can do. I love to try and max it out. It's actually the only one I've never maxed out. After I get all of my wording done, I typically have between 1,600, 1,800 words. That's kind of my average for when I really see the scene playing out and can add in all of those details. Do you need to max it out? Absolutely not. But you do need to learn what is a good beat, what is a bad beat. You need to learn how to recognize if you have some wording in here that is going to disrupt the AI or cause some issues. And those are the things that Tabby and I will be going over in our AI and the author class that's coming out. Hopefully y'all can join, learn a few things there. And like I said, just play around, find everything that works for you, and watch the recordings if you can attend the live classes. They really do help. And you will master Sudowrite a lot faster than having that frustration of trying to figure everything out on your own. Right. Thank y'all for watching, and I hope this helps. And I will have the videos up soon of me continuing the Dark Mafia romance story, so y'all can actually watch me going through Sudowrite from the very first box all the way to the end. Thank y'all for watching.